I beat chronic Lyme without antibiotics. I know, everyone says it's impossible, but I'm living proof. And if you're dealing with symptoms no one can fix, this might change everything. Fast forward to today, I've helped countless others dealing with chronic Lyme reverse or improve their symptoms and ultimately build up the foundation of their body so they are able to overcome Lyme and other infections. I've been symptom-free myself for over 7 years now. Even though it was a challenge, there were 7 things that made it so much easier, and I'd like to save you from the common mistakes that most people dealing with Lyme make. Like my client Melissa, who after we started working together, came to the realization that pretty much everything she was doing had to stop or change. After implementing some tweaks, she was able to get rid of symptoms and her Lyme tests are now negative. So in this video, I'm going to share with you my blueprint to reversing chronic Lyme naturally, including why conventional medicine isn't enough, what you should do instead of focusing on killing the bacteria, and the number one thing that holds the key to lasting healing. To start, let me show you how I went from struggling to walk my dog around the block to living a vibrant, energetic life again. And I'm quite confident anyone can do this. When I was a little girl, my childhood best friend had the most beautiful vegetable garden. Lush tomatoes, bright peppers, fragrant herbs. But one year, everything wilted. Weeds took over, and no matter how many we pulled, the plants kept struggling. A neighbor finally said something I never forgot. "You don't have a weed problem," he said. "You have a soil problem." The soil was depleted, so we focused on healing it, adding compost, balancing pH, and the next year, the garden exploded with life. Healthy soil meant strong plants that could resist pests on their own. Years later, I thought back to that garden when my own health fell apart. I was full of weeds, you see. Once I found out I had Lyme disease, which is caused by a bacteria called Borrelia, I also discovered that I had multiple other infections present as well. Bartonella, Babesia, Mycoplasma, mold toxins, parasites like Blastocystis hominis, and viruses like CMV and EBV, and more. And I realized if I focused only on killing infections without rebuilding my body, the soil, I'd never truly heal. The weeds would keep coming back. So I stopped fighting symptoms and started nourishing my internal terrain. When your soil is rich in nutrients, balanced, and free of toxins, infections can't thrive, and your body can finally heal. Now that you understand why rebuilding your foundation is step 1, let's move into the second part of the blueprint. This next mistake will stop you from making progress treating Lyme, and nearly everyone falls for it. It works like this. As soon as you find out you have Lyme, you want to kill it immediately. You go into fight mode, and this actually hinders your healing. Not only are you going to overwhelm your system if you kill off infections before your body is able to handle them, but you are also putting yourself into fight or flight mode when you gear up for a war against these pathogens, which ultimately turns into a war against your own body. So instead, you need to realize that to be most effective in killing off pathogens, you have to do things in the right order. You see, if you kill things off too soon, you will flood your system with bacterial die-off and toxins, causing an immense amount of inflammation, which will keep you spinning your wheels and set you back in your healing. There's a specific sequence to healing, and it matters. I didn't just throw everything at my infections at once. I followed a clear, step-by-step approach, getting my body into the parasympathetic state early on, addressing drainage and detox, immune regulation, and gut health before addressing the pathogens, and addressing the pathogens in a specific order when I did get to that point. That order made all the difference. So now you must be thinking, this all sounds complicated. How do I go about doing this successfully? That leads me to the third point of the blueprint. When I started healing, I thought killing infections was the whole battle. But I learned quickly it wasn't just about bugs. My body was stuck in a loop of chronic inflammation. It's like this. If your house is on fire, it's not enough to chase the arsonist. You have to put out the flames. Focusing only on the infection is like hunting the criminal while your living room burns. The real emergency is the fire. Inflammation fuels Lyme. The bacteria thrive in that chaos. But when you calm the fire, everything shifts. The bugs weaken, and you start to feel real relief. One of my clients, Rebecca, started reducing her Motrin use within weeks, just by addressing the inflammation in her body. So how do you put out the fire? It starts with food, lifestyle, and even your mindset and emotions, because stress, well, it's like adding gasoline to the flames. But we'll talk more about that in the next step. But if you want the full picture of how I healed, check out my health webinar, How I Cured My Chronic Lyme, which is linked in the description below. Healing gets a lot simpler when you focus on calming inflammation first. Now, let's move on to part 4 of the blueprint. One of the most powerful breakthroughs in my healing journey didn't come from another supplement or a new herbal protocol or even a detox. It came from deep inside my own mind. You see, for years, I was doing all the right things on the physical level, and yet there was still something invisible holding me back, something I couldn't touch with herbs or diet changes. It wasn't until I did deep subconscious work that I uncovered the real block, a hidden belief I had been carrying since childhood. As a little girl, the only time I truly felt loved and cared for by my mother was when I was sick. When I was healthy, the love, the tenderness wasn't there. But when I got sick, she would nurture me. She would show me the care I craved so deeply, so secretly. And somewhere deep inside, that little girl made a decision to stay sick, because being sick felt like the only way to feel loved. When I became aware of that belief, it was like shining a light into a dark room. Suddenly, it lost its power over me. I realized I didn't have to be sick to be worthy of love. I could love myself fully. I could receive love from the world without needing to be broken first. And with that awareness, I was finally able to let go of the identity of somebody with Lyme disease. I stepped into a new identity, a healthy, whole, empowered woman. This shift didn't come from a bottle. It didn't come from killing more bacteria. It came from healing at the level of the soul, because we are not just bodies. We are souls, conscious minds, and subconscious minds all working together. And if we only heal the physical body, but ignore the subconscious patterns driving our behavior, true, lasting healing will always stay just out of reach. That's why subconscious reprogramming became a cornerstone of my recovery, and now the work I share. But it's not the only piece of the puzzle. Real healing comes from aligning every part of your life: physical, emotional, energetic, and that leads me to the next breakthrough. For years, I worked in the healthcare industry as a pharmacist. And to be blunt, I was miserable. I went into this field thinking I was going to help people truly get healthy. But what I found was a system run by pharmaceutical companies, controlled by insurance guidelines, and focused more on prescription output than real healing. Every day, I felt more and more boxed in. I felt like an outsider. Meanwhile, I was living with chronic symptoms, pain, fatigue, brain fog, that no amount of supplements could fix. I felt like a fraud, helping others manage their symptoms while I couldn't even heal my own body. And that's when it hit me like a lightning bolt. Chronic illness isn't random. It's a signal that something in your life is out of alignment. For me, it was my career. But for others, it might be a toxic relationship, unresolved trauma, or simply not living their true purpose. Your body is wise. When you're not living in alignment emotionally, spiritually, or energetically, your body starts sounding the alarm. Healing starts when you get radically honest with yourself about what needs to change in your life. And that brings me to the next powerful realization. After years of searching for answers, I had a painful realization. No one was going to save me. If I wanted to heal, I had to become my own best advocate. It took 20 years, 20, to get a Lyme diagnosis for me. I saw countless doctors, specialists, even was hospitalized with meningitis, and still, no one connected the dots. I asked to be tested for tick-borne illness, and the infectious disease doctor refused. She looked me in the eye and said, "Chronic Lyme does not exist." That moment hurt, but it also woke me up. No one will ever fight for your health more fiercely than you will. And I'm not alone. Every week, I hear the same stories from others, being dismissed, told it's just anxiety or normal for your age. I trusted the system growing up, I believed doctors had the answers, but when it came to chronic Lyme, most didn't even know what questions to ask. For me, realizing I couldn't depend on conventional medicine to cure me was devastating. That's when I stopped searching for a hero in a white coat and became my own hero. I built a team of practitioners who got it, people who understood Lyme because they'd lived it. Once I took ownership of my healing journey, everything started to change. So by now, you might be wondering, if the conventional system doesn't work for chronic Lyme and I need to advocate for myself, what treatments actually work? And that leads us to the final part of the blueprint. One of the biggest decisions I made was to skip the antibiotics and choose a different path. One rooted in natural medicine. Yes, even as a pharmacist, I knew pharmaceuticals weren't the answer for me. Why? Because antibiotics are built to kill fast replicating bacteria, but Lyme doesn't play by those rules. In chronic cases, the bacteria hide, change, and dig deeper when threatened. Antibiotics can't keep up, and worse, they add to your body's toxic load instead of reducing it. They damage mitochondria, which are the batteries of your cells, and they wreck your gut, where most of your immune system lives. Meanwhile, herbs, unlike antibiotics, are complex, adaptive, and work from multiple angles. Lyme can't easily outsmart them. So I didn't choose herbs because they're gentler. I chose them because they're smarter for long-term root-level healing. They worked with my body, nourishing the terrain while helping clear infections. For me, using herbs wasn't just a treatment, it was a turning point. It meant I was done fighting my body and ready to heal in partnership with it. How empowering is it to realize that true healing doesn't come from chasing symptoms, but from building a strong foundation within yourself? Now you know my 7-step blueprint for how I reversed my Lyme naturally as a pharmacist. But if you are serious about overcoming chronic Lyme, you'll want to watch this video next.